One, two, one, two. I'm gonna rap right now. I'm gonna do this. Let's put out the lyrics. No.
How are you gonna be sitting comfortably?
Right here. Yeah. Like this right here. All right. Huh? All right. All right. Yo, Joel. Yeah, when is it? Saturday, 6 p.m. Tenemos que ir para Vasco da Gama Saturday, 6 p.m. Me lembra ya un birthday. How's the pizza? Little man, you have pizza? You got ski over there. I want pizza.
All right, I've hit the live YouTube. This video has been removed by the uploader.
This you texting me?
Nah, it said that link says it's been removed by the uploader. So
Yeah, so we got a new link. We trying to get it out now.
You don't want a pizza or anything? All right, man. I didn't know if it was open to the public or not. I don't think so. I haven't heard. I didn't see it anything.
the good thing is they do have text messages going out saying to vote for John, reminding people of the election, and they have
live? Okay. We're live now. All right. All right. Good evening, everyone. I hope everyone is having a great day today. I would like to thank everybody who did come out to this event this evening. I really appreciate you taking time out your busy schedule to be here with us today. Um, my name is Jannard Eady, and I will be hosting today's event. This is my first time hosting such an event like this, so please bear with me. If I do stumble over my words or I mess things up, I'm sure we'll get through this together.
No, no stumbling. You do great.
All right. So the beauty of having these live events for candidates is that it allows you to see the real person, and it also shows how authentic they are when they're placed in certain environments that are unscripted, unrehearsed, and they're vulnerable. So, with that being said, we do have a candidate here, and we're going to test this and see if he's ready for a live Q&A from everyone here and people who are tuning in live. So we do have candidate John Gomes, who is seeking to be the mayor of the city of Bridgeport. And for those who have been following the election the past year or so, I'm sure you've seen John face throughout the city of Bridgeport, and you perhaps had the opportunity to speak to him in person. And there may be a few people who haven't had the opportunity to speak to John in person or haven't seen his face throughout the city of Bridgeport. But no worries, because tonight everyone will have an opportunity to ask John whatever questions that they want to ask John, and hopefully get an insight to what type of person John is, his campaign, and his platform to become the next mayor of the city of Bridgeport. So, without further ado, we have Mr. John Gomes.
Well, thank you for having me, and I'm sure the experience will reflect on the outcome as far as your performance. So there'll be no mistakes.
All right.
But thank you for having me, and thank you for allowing this platform so we could continue to reach the voters of Bridgeport and really stress the importance of this election. This election is not about John Gomes, as we have seen. It really has become about democracy and restoring faith when you talk about the vote that we cast as voters of Bridgeport. So, this could be perhaps one of the most important election that has happened in recent history, because this is uncharted water. This is a special primary that has been ordered through the verdict, as you know, of the court. And here we are, and the destiny is ours. So.
Okay. So before we get into the questions, you and I did an interview maybe 4 or 5 months ago,
Right.
And back then you were probably like 30 pounds heavier. And so I'm not sure if it's the stress of this election or you're doing a good job sticking to your New Year's resolution.
It's about that commitment, because for many of us that get involved in politics, if a candidate hasn't lost weight in the campaign trail, then something's wrong, because it reflects the work that you put in. It's not only about the knocking on the doors. It's about uh, the grassroots, that you talk to the volunteers on a daily basis about the strategy you put in place. It's about really embracing what you're about. And yes, I'm a couple pounds lighter, but stronger than ever, ready to go to the finish line.
Okay. So what we're going to do is we're going to take a few questions from people in the audience, as well as the people who are tuning in live. And there were a few people who actually submitted their questions because they weren't able to be here or tune in live. So we're going to ask John some questions from the people. All right. So you ready
go.
for the first one?
Let's go.
All right. So this person said, if elected, what would your administration look like? Would it be filled with campaign contributors, volunteers, and family members and friends?
Absolutely not. One thing I could tell you, and I look at every voter in the streets and your voters that are viewing, I could tell you that we have not talked about jobs. We have not talked about political jobs. Our focus has been to win this. And because of my ability and experience inside municipal government, I will put a government that reflects us, a government that reflects the people of Bridgeport. My appointed position will not be those that will take the highway and leave Bridgeport after 5, or are not here at night, or are not here at the weekend. And also, I will make sure that it is a body that's filled with experience, knowledge, passion, but most important that they're vested in Bridgeport. Because you cannot tell me what the problem is if you're not living the consequences. And you have to live the consequences of the decision you're making in order to make sure that it resembles or it reflects what we want. And that's a Bridgeport that's for all of us. So I'm gonna make a Bridgeport that we want.
Okay. Now the next question is submitted by Karen, and she says she's a lifelong resident of Bridgeport, voted in every election since she could vote, and she's saying this election has been the worst display of violation of voter rights. My grandkids, who are voting age, ask me why do I waste my time voting? They're going to suppress your vote anyway. So, what is your take on that?
You know, that's that's something that you often heard when you campaign and you knocked on doors, and there were voters that say, you know, what's the point? My vote doesn't count. And we're there telling them it does count. You have to go out and vote. And sadly, we came across evidence that showed voter suppression, really a violation of all of us, all the voters of Bridgeport. And it was done by this administration. It was done by people within the Democratic Town Committee. It was done by certain elected officials. It was done by people who are taking salary of our taxpayer. And to this day, there still has been no repercussion. There has been no direct, let's put it, arrest for the crime that was committed. And hopefully, the state, along with the state attorneys, you know, governor, someone will step up eventually and bring justice to Bridgeport, because that's what we need to restore the credibility that we need within the voting process here in Bridgeport. But I will also tell Karen that, if anything, this is the most important election that I think she needs to participate and vote, because we have uncovered the corruption. And if we give up now, we cannot come back and make a brighter future. So I would tell her more than ever, show up, vote, give me that chance, 4 years. If you have this past administration that together has been in office for over 20 years and we're still where we at, then show up, vote, and we can make that difference for a better Bridgeport in every aspect we're talking about.
Okay. So the next question comes from Tina, who says, I never heard of John Gomes until this election. What has he done in regards to city government that makes him qualified to be mayor of the city of Bridgeport?
Well, one of the great things I try to do, or not great things, but one things I do is I work silently. I'm not out there trying to get accolades for what I've done. Those that know me know that in my community, I do what I can to help the people that come across that need help. When I was in city government, any opportunity I had to make things better, I did. Any calls that were called by the residents that needed help, I did what I could to make sure I gave them a positive result. My ability, or my difference, when you talk about why I'm qualified, is because I have a unique and intimate knowledge of city operation. I've been involved not only across various projects across the 19 divisions and 41 subdivisions within city government. I understand what we have as resources within city government, but more importantly, I understand what we're not doing to make sure that we maximize on everything we possibly can. I mean, I could tell you from the 12,000 light poles that we have across the city to how long it'll take a toter to drop a garbage in a garbage truck. I could tell you that a garbage truck takes 12 tons of garbage. I could tell you how many esplanades we have in the city. I could break it down and tell you how much it'll cost to train the police. I could tell you how much grants we would be getting. I could tell you how much grants the city has returned back because lack of ability to perform on. So, when you look at the intricacies and the knowledge that I've acquired over the years of work in city government, it makes me unique for the job because not only do I have these experience and knowledge, but also I'm that resident of Bridgeport. I'm that small business person. I'm that taxpayer. I'm that father. I'm the one that's walking in the neighborhood to understand what we're going through. So from the economic development to education to operational things that we need to do to make Bridgeport better. So I think when you look at within the municipal aspect, and then you look at the corporate experience, you look at my education background, undergrad and masters in international business, my ability to speak in 5 languages, I could reach a variety of neighborhoods and ethnicity that reflect us. So I think those are just to mention a few traits that I feel makes me qualify for the job. And given the opportunity, it would be an honor really to lead the city and make it what it can be. And that's a Bridgeport that's about us. And that's why I say I'm a mayor of all people.
Okay. So the next question comes from Keith. And Keith says, there seems to be a civil war within the Board of Education. As the mayor, how would you work with the Board of Education to come together and do their job and work on the behalf of the Bridgeport students?
Well, education to me is everything. These simple words that I'm speaking to you, excuse me, are because of education. As an immigrant, I came here without mother and father. I didn't know how to speak English. I didn't know the American culture. But it was in the school system that I found that home. It was the friends and teachers that gave me that sense of home, if you want to call. I grew up in the Hollow section. I was one of those kids that went to Columbus, Blackham, Central. When I put out my education policy, I brought back my teacher from Columbus School. He had actually just finished a chemo, and he came back to do the launch live with me because he knows that I understand what we need as a student. I also understand what we need as a parent. But those things that I've endured and went through as a kid here in Bridgeport now makes me understand what I could do with that leadership role. You cannot have a mayor as this one that you currently have that does not attend the Board of Education meeting. Under my administration, I would look to make sure that the City Council, along with the Board of Education members, meet frequently, not once a year when they put in a budget, but also I would foster a strong relationship with the superintendent. One of the things that I've said is that upon entering into my administration, one of the first things I want to give back 1.5 million back to the Board of Education to make up the difference of what they requested last year, 4 million that was never given. I will be a mayor that will be a champion for education. I will not fund education at a minimal level. I will look to always give more because our kids deserve education that's second to none.
Okay. Speaking of education, I just got your flyer in my mail today, and every time I get one of these, I always look through it and just go through the checklist. And you have a list of reasons why people select you as mayor. Here, I'm just kind of paraphrase some of this. You said you would provide additional $2 million per year for education,
Correct.
which would be great for the kids here in the city of Bridgeport. You're going to reduce individual tax payments by $600 per year. Actually, my taxes went up this year,
Yeah.
so that would be a big help to me. Hire competent people to keep our streets safe and clean. You would increase the senior tax relief program from $950 to $1,500, which would be great for my mother, my aunties, and
Right.
the elderlies in my family. And you also talked about secure more funding for affordable housing as well as fair rental assistance for low income family. One thing I didn't see on here is job creations. And I'm
Right.
talking about good paying jobs, not
Not-
$20, $25 an hour, and not trying to knock anybody who makes that. But I'm talking about real money that people can afford to live here in Bridgeport. I've been pretty much living in Bridgeport all my life, and I never held a job in Bridgeport. I always had to go to New Haven, Stanford, and Norwalk. So, like, what is your plan to bring those good paying jobs to the city of Bridgeport so people don't have to leave and go to these cities? Because I want to say probably 50% of the working force who does have good paying jobs that live in Bridgeport,
Right.
those are jobs are not in Bridgeport.
You don't mind if I put a drop in my
So,
hey, this is live.
just
So.
live. So, and this shows the authentic and when you're in vulnerable situations and unscripted and unrehearsed, people get to see the real you. So,
Well, listen. That's one of the things that when we talk about economic growth, look at looking at quality of job that comes to Bridgeport. In doing so, I would work with the state of Connecticut, along state of Connecticut, and understanding the industries, the economic development, the industries that want to come into Bridgeport. For example, the banking, finance, artificial intelligence, medical manufacturing, hospitality. We don't even have a hotel in the city. So when we look at the trends that's happening to understand the different industry that's coming into Bridgeport and work with Advanced Connecticut to understand within this industry what are the jobs and how do we need to develop that workforce to create that base here in Bridgeport, and together look at the resources we have in Bridgeport and how we could work with some of these nonprofits to make sure we provide the resource to make sure they're well trained to qualify for the industries that are coming in. Because many of our kids that go to school, high school, when they graduate, they go away, but because there's nothing here, they don't come back. And as you said, many, including yourself, look for a job outside. I was one of those that I had to go work with Nestle. I had to live in Massachusetts and then Florida. But that's something we have to nurture, we have to cater, because we have the higher institution that could provide those skill sets and the jobs to retain that. And the industry we do not have, and we have to build that. But and I'll be in Hartford looking at what we need to do. And when I say the resources, I'm not talking about the resources that I will be taking or putting on the back of the taxpayers. Right now, if you look at our grant department or the city's grant department, is really run by 2 or 3 people. I'm looking to bring that to 10, 12 people so they could go out and get the grants and other resources we need to well equip the workforce development and bring those funding and resources to those organizations that's going to be better prepared to train the people and the kids that we need, or the professionals that we need to enter into that sector. It's something that's going to take some time, as you know, during the first 4 years, but it's something that's achievable. But you got to work as a team from the workforce development nonprofits here with the state and also in the federal level.
Okay.
We have to.
Okay. All right. So I'm going to go on live here, and we have a question from We on TV, and it says, "My question is, if John Gomes doesn't become mayor, will he still be willing to try to make those changes for the better in any way he can?"
I've been here 43 years. I'm not going anywhere. And God willing, we will be victorious on January 23rd.
Okay. And you mentioned that you speak 5 languages, which makes it easier for you to reach out to people and have a rapport with them. And one of the things that someone did say is, what do you say when there's a campaign within the black community saying John Gomes isn't A, black enough, B, not black, and they said, in their opinion, race shouldn't be the determining qualification to be mayor?
Well, I'm a young man that came here from Cape Verde Island, 10 islands located west coast of Africa. So I think that explains itself. What you have to understand is that certain people in the political arena have nested in an exclusive self-financial satisfaction for themselves. Let's put it that way. There's certain things that
they're taken advantage of in the city, and they know when I come in that's not going to continue because I'm a mayor of all people, and you're not here to milk the city and take what's for yourself without the benefit of the city as a whole. So many people are spreading these innuendos and things like that. I don't try to focus on it because I know who I am, and as long as those that are supporting me, that we talk about the differences but more the similarities, that agree with the vision, the platform, I move forward because I'm a mayor of all people, from the white person to the black person, the Spanish person to the Asian person. The race to me is not a priority. To me, the priority is how can I, as mayor of the city, address your concern, your need, but more importantly, put a Bridgeport that represents all of us. I mean, that's the simplest thing the simplest format.
Okay, all right. So the next question comes from Keith, who says, "Is John campaign fueled by anger and vengeance?"
I am angry of what they're taking advantage of the city. I am angry that the resources we have is not being used properly to maximize the potential of the city. I'm angry that this city has hired selected few to run the city who don't live here, don't care about the city, and continue to get on the highway and go home. I'm angry that this city, instead of putting productivity to represent the majority of our operational outcome, it's political outcome that measure it's political things that measure our outcome. Those are the things I'm angry about because those that are spreading their rumors that I'm angry, they know that when I'm come in, they're not going to be there because it will no longer be about themselves, but it will be about the people. I will create a government that reflects all the people. I want the people of Bridgeport to walk in City Hall and feel like City Hall's working for them. And that's really the simple thing. Angry, no. My mind's clear, my conscience is good, and my heart is happy as it can be. I'm focused.
Okay. All right, so I'm going to go to my email because we did have a few people who emailed the questions that weren't able to be here or tune in live. So this question comes from Alicia. She said, "What will John Gomes do to address the mental health crisis we are currently being faced with here in the city of Bridgeport? Mental health issues are tied to unhoused individuals as well as the drug and opioid crisis we currently are experiencing."
I see it in the neighborhood we live. I see the impact of it. I see not long ago I saw a young kid came to pick up the grandmother at the corner. So I understand what's going on. I see it, but as a leader of the city of Bridgeport, I will put around the table experts in this field to understand in depth how is it happen, where is it happen, is it by demographic, is it by region, and then asking them what do they have that they're doing to combat this and what do they need. And my job is to go and get the resource so I could give them the resource necessary that they need to take minimize this problem. That's an area that I would tell you I'm not an expert on, but I would put experts around the table to talk to me openly about what's going on. I see it, but I need to understand it from their sense and what they're doing because I see different vans and different outreach program that's happening in the community, but I don't understand its impact. Also within that is to understand those nonprofits that are working to address this issue, to really understand their budget and understand from the operational side what's being used for administrative costs versus what's being used for really using in the community. So I can know what they need and how do I give more to them. And it's something that we see it not only on elders and young adults, but it's impacting the kids and their household. And that trickles down into education and how they're prepared to go to school and so forth and so on.
Okay. So this is another question that comes from Alicia, and you probably already answered this with your previous answer, but I told her I would ask you this question anyway. It says, what do you plan to do better to support the youth of Bridgeport, specifically around education and giving the resources they need?
Those are things that I've lived. You know, that was me in the summer looking for a job after high school. I mean, my first job was there in Plaza Beef, right there on Harold Avenue. You know, I was stuffing 10, 20-pound bag of chicken and then stop and shop and then the internship and things like that. One of the things that we have to do is we have to empower our kids. We have many summer youth employment. How do we make sure that those jobs are going to our kids and certain we're not using it for political favoritism to give it to selected kids who don't even live here. And then with that is how do we, through the Board of Education, connect youth employment with academic achievement? Meaning you do great in school, we connect with that. And the better you do, the better, the more opportunity there would be. Also, when you look at our higher institution, we need to look at Sacred Heart, UB, Housatonic, and other institutions outside our borderline to look at how do we, whether negotiate, reduce, we got to do something as far as tuition to make it, to facilitate it to those kids that maybe can't afford it. And through that, I want to put a endowment program or a program for $1 million to continue on a revolving scholarship. And when I say $1 million, I'm not talking about taking money from the city. I'm not talking about taking money from COVID money, none of that. I'm talking about building a partnership with the business sector that will donate money into those funds that we could look at kids both at Central, high school, and others, and other education outlet to facilitate them as far as finance for higher education. The other thing is that within the city of Bridgeport, as I said, we have 61 division. You look at engineering, you look at zoning, you look at health department, you look at grants, you look at all these departments that you could access these youth to do summer internship, to begin their mindset to think about what career they want to go in, and bring them in, mentor. Whether we do it, one department at a time, or we do it one director at a time, but that's a facility. That's something that we have the resource to be able to do. I also envision building a community pool. We don't have that in the city. The other thing we talk about, there's dirt bikes all over the streets. Well, let's build a dirt bike off track somewhere. And again, we connect that to the school system. Listen, we're going to do this for you. You have a dirt bike, come and register here and write it here. As long as we sign waiver, we agree with parents and so on. Those are the type of things that you empower the kids to understand that they're part of the community instead of profiling them and then making judgment of who they are without knowing actually what they're about. So those are just some of the things that, that we begin to talk about. But we have to empower our future, and that comes through our youth, or else we have no future, or else there's no point in me running.
Okay. Now, you mentioned about the over 61 departments within the city of Bridgeport. So the next question kind of leads into these various departments. So Monica says, overall, major crime in the city is down, but there are some small things that are clearly overlooked that are becoming big issues due to lack of enforcement, such as car break-ins, speeding, illegal parking, dumping, et cetera, et cetera. Most of these things are due to lack of department being staffed or staff who just don't care about their job. And these things are affecting the quality of life for the residents. So what is your plan to address that issue?
Well, one of the first things, as a resident, what we're going to do is be very open and transparent. When we say the crime is down, is it down? How we're measuring that. We have to statistically characterize those categories to make sure that we're answering true and honest to the people. How many 911 calls we're not reporting that statistic? How many people have access but yet waiting 2 hours and they give up and don't go? How they categorize whether it's domestic to priority 1, 2, and 3. So that's a separate thing in itself to make sure that we are reporting accurate information and taking responsibility for what's happening or not happening within that area. For me, I like down the road, it's going to be something that's very visual with a master a dashboard that you could actually go and be able to see by area what's going on. Because under my administration, I don't want to tell you everything that's great. I want to tell you what's happening and how together we could fix the issues. And on the separate part, she's right about accountability. We have many people in the city of Bridgeport that are not accountable for the department or the job they're holding, and that starts at the top. If I'm the mayor, you're going to be accountable, because that's one of the things that's going to drive performance. And we're not going to have a budget that's cut and paste and put in objective and achieve. I'm going to show you the process as far as how you're measuring that performance. It's not going to be a cut and paste. So it starts with accountability when you talk about the individual departments or director, and how you're using the data, the metrics, the performance that's happening to really make sure it's reflecting of our community. Don't tell me, we've created we've put 7 new projects as far as development, but there's 15 development that's taken a year to get built because building department or zoning or something like that is taking a year and over to give small contractors certain permits. So there's different statistics and way to measure performance. At the end of the day, under my administration, it'll be very clear and open. And to add to that, I want to tell you that I will create a customer service line for the first 2 years, which will combine the 311, the 211 section along with 1-800 number to really integrate everything, where the residents of Bridgeport will call in directly and have their questions answered within 24 hours. And on Thursdays, 7 o'clock, my plan is to have podcasts where we will continue to have this open dialogue with the residents of Bridgeport to talk about what's good, what's bad, what needs to be addressed. But at the end of the day, anything and everything you look across the city has to be accountability. And you cannot continue to have a mayor that's absent, a mayor that only shows up during election time, a mayor that after 7 years in the current term now wants to do reach out to the residents because he's been out of touch. We cannot afford that. We have given this mayor a second chance. He's disrespected that. He does not appreciate it, and it's time for us to move in a different direction, because we're the one owing those consequences. We're the one that's paying those high taxes. We're not flipping properties and making hundreds and thousands of dollars off those properties because we don't have that ability or that accessibility. We have to make a government that reflects us, and the way to do it is, through those things I've talked about, but especially relationship, partnership, and accountability.
Okay, so you kind of touched on stats, data, and metrics and accountability. So the next question comes from Yvette, where she says, clearly there's no transparency within City Hall. What action would you take to keep people informed, no matter how big or small the issue is?
Accessibility. As I said, on Thursday we'll have a podcast. You will have a 1-800 number that will be in the mayor's office, along with the 311 that will connect. So I could have a direct and daily report on the complaints that are coming in, and also perhaps what we're doing good. But often people like to call about the complaint. Address those things and say, this is what's going on. It's not about how small or big it is. It's about how fast I'm answering your questions or I'm addressing your issue. And that's really it.
Okay, so we have a question from a brother of a certain age. The question is, there are programs that are available and not well known. What role does local government play in promoting these programs that are available to the youth?
We should play every role possible. And then, again, it comes with the person that's in charge. If you care, if you feel it, if you breathe it, if you're part of it, you're going to do everything you can. Being a mayor is about being from Pembroke to Stratford Avenue, Connecticut Avenue, to go to Black. It doesn't matter what section of town. You're going to different areas. You're understanding what's going on. So in turn, understanding what's going on, living it, you're kind of processing and making sure things are being done. And it starts at the top. It starts at the top.
Okay. Next question is from Joseph. He said, if elected, what is high on your priority list?
Well, the first one of the first things I want to do in the first 30 days is a forensic audit. I need a forensic audit to understand the financial stability or instability of the city. There are things that are hidden that we have no knowledge of, or they've been hidden for so long it's been forgotten. We need to go back and understand the financial situation stand of the city. The second thing, obviously, I talked about education, and we have to get economic development in order. And when I talk about economic development, I'm talking about not only building buildings, but also the small business, making sure the moms and pops, how they're part of that development. We talk about that workforce development that go with it, and we have to make sure that our streets are safe. And how do we partner? How do we make sure that we bring safety to each and every neighborhood? It's not different based on your location geographically or the race, ethnicity within those different neighborhood.
Okay. So the next question is from Jonathan, who says, with all the things that was going on or is going on with these current elections, and it's going on longer than what it thought due to corruption, what is it that motivates you to get up in the morning and continue to fight this fight?
You know, sometime in this campaign, I've told people that I've always been religious, but I've become spiritual. There's a higher power that's guiding me, and I feel it, I know it, and it continues to lead me in the direction that needs to be done. But I think overall, my motivation, or when you walk in a room and people commend you for what you're doing, or you see that your tent's getting bigger, more and more people are coming in, working with you collectively, and that there's more similarity than differences across Bridgeport. Um, I cannot be here if it weren't for the supporters that continue to support me, whether they do it financially or they do it on the grassroots base, or those that also do it on the spiritual level. But I, but when you're living the pain, you live in the consequences, and you see the unjust that's happening in the streets, but you also know the potential that the city has. And you've been inside City Hall and you've tried to change it, and they simply pushed you away because you spoke the truth and the language that was by the people. That's what drives me, because I know what Bridgeport can be. I know what we can do if we come collectively, because Bridgeport, it's a plethora when you look across of different languages, different culture, different music, different food, and we have the infrastructure. We have the infrastructure to make this Bridgeport a city that will be the beacon when you talk about the other neighboring city, because the other cities around us or town, they continue to develop because Bridgeport is not developed. When Bridgeport gets to where it needs to be, you will see more influx than outflux of people.
Okay. So the next question is uh, the term that is associated with John Gomes, the Hatchet Man. Where did that come from, and what role were you in when you were labeled the Hatchet Man?
Well, the Hatchet Man, I think that was more of a label that was done by the media, and I left it alone. My job was to come in, look at accountability, efficiency, and eliminating wasteful spending. That's what I did. And those that came up with certain tactics or approach are those that know they're milking the system. They're taking advantage of the people. And yes, I've been let go by different administration. That's fine, because I carry that with pride, because I don't compromise. My job and my belief has always remained firm with the people. I talk to the people. The people gave me the opportunity to be in the position that I am. And at the end of the day, I'm in the street with the people. And if their justification, their justice is not being carried, I speak it loud. And through that, some may say, again, I'm angry, I'm the hatcherman. No, I care about Bridgeport. I will do what I got to do to make Bridgeport the city it needs to be, and I will move the resources it needs to be, and I will fight until those people that are just taking advantage of the city are put aside. And then the majority of the people will continue to have that hope and that dream that this campaign has brought on, because this campaign has awakened, let's put it that way, and has sparked a sense of hope among a lot of people that has somewhat had given up.
Okay. So the next question is, what do you think your biggest challenge would be if elected mayor of the city of Bridgeport?
Um, I would probably say what I would uncover, what's being hidden. Now that I would have accessibility, uncovering some of the financial woes, um, and I think that would be the first. What's being hidden in the books that's really not being open to the public, and from there, then putting the priorities where we need to go first, second, and third. But other than that, because it's something you believe in so much and you're part of it, you've been inside, you understand the intricacies and the operational side. You have a tremendous amount of resources as far as people experience within Bridgeport. I think when the right opportunity is given to the right person, they'll shine, they'll come up. And I really feel that with that, we will create an energy and a spirit and a momentum to move things in the right way.
So do you believe or feel that this is the reason why they don't want to change in administration because it's so much stuff that is buried in the closet that they don't want to come out?
Well, I would say that's one thing, but also what you got to think about. This is almost a $1 billion entity. I mean, this is almost, let's say you have a company that's $1 billion, and certain people have been taking advantage of those financial gains for themselves. And now you have someone that's coming in that's going to open it and be very clear and transparent. And in doing so, they're going to lose the financial gains they've been taking away for years. And obviously, they're going to be the loudest and try to make the most noise without substance, without data, without evidence. But so, you know, and in doing so, you're talking about close to 4,000 employees across. Um, so you're taking ownership of a lot that has been given to someone else, and those people that do not reflect the majority of Bridgeport.
Okay. So next question we have from Michael is, every time the city of Bridgeport make national news, it's about something negative. How do you feel about that?
We have to change the narrative, and that's why I'm running. Give me an opportunity, give me 4 years, I will change that, and I will change that along with him, with his vote, because I will make sure that he has a seat, he has a voice under my administration. He's absolutely right, and that's part of what they want to continue the perception to be, because as long as there's negativity, more people stay away, and those in control stay in control, and we got to break that barrier. We have the power, and it's more evidence than ever. We saw what has done with the corruption that has done on the ballots, and we need to stand up louder than ever and change that. And that can only be done by voting, and that will have a social, economic, and political impact for generations to come.
So what do you say when you hear the future voters, the youth who are going to be voting within the next year or two, saying that they are totally disengaged with the voting process here in the city of Bridgeport because when they went to school and they study social politics, that they were taught that voting was a free, open, and transparent process, and they had the right to vote and not have their right violated.
Engagement. I mean, that's where we as adults take responsibility for what's wrong, and we put action and plan to fix that. Um, and that's the unfortunate circumstance that we have. We've seen it. Now more than ever, we gave them evidence to show that it's wrong. So we can't give up. We got to go back to those schools and say, now we have an opportunity to make a right from a wrong. And that's where it comes with engagement, not only through, the political side, but through the education side in school, um, and do what I can as far as mayor to talk about what has been done, what has been unjust, but more importantly, now you have a new mayor with a new perspective and a new vision, so let's go with that, and then give me that opportunity to hear you as far as what you're saying, and let me put the vehicle in place that you need to be the difference.
Okay, so next question is from Jonathan, who says, how do you plan on getting city residents engaged with local politics, and not just local politics, what's going on in the community, and make the community better than what it is?
One of the first thing is, every Friday I want to walk the community. I'm going to have people of, depending where I'm walking, I'm going to bring the different leaders of those communities to walk with me. We're going to make a priority list. We're going to um, look at how to address them. I also have put in my economic proposal a $50,000 reoccurring to the NRZ, Neighborhood Revitalization Zone, so they could do things in their community, bypassing all the red tape and all that we currently have. Um, and I think the most important thing is by accessibility. If you have a right now you have a mayor that you don't see. You don't see the mayor in the bodegas, corner store, in the barbershop, in the streets. You don't see a mayor that's there chilling with you, talking to you, understanding you. I think that once you see someone that's in the leadership role, but also is in your neighborhood, your community, you begin to disarm yourself a little bit to be more accessible. Talk a little bit about what's going on, and then within City Hall, my doors will be open. Like I said, I'll have a 1-800 number, customer service. I will have podcasts. You will see me. So I think that's one of the first thing we got to do is that relationship. I'm not going to change. I'm going to have the same phone number. I'm going to have the same contact. I will be with the same friends, same people that I've been with. So that's going to begin to reduce that. Oh, really? He's here. So we talk about. But I'm walking that street. I'm seeing from the catch basin that's not being cleaned to the pothole to the garbage that's not being picked up. I know exactly where the blighted community areas are at. I know that building that's been blighted for the last 20 years and why has it happened. So you have somebody that's from the community that's going to go and attack and address those issues immediately. And I think that will begin to restore that confidence. That's what we don't have, that confidence between, or that relationship between government and the people. And that's reflected on the voter turnout. And that's done purposely. The lower the voter turnout, the more they keep in office. But I want to expand that. I want to give you the opportunity. I want accessibility. I want you to participate. The current administration has probably, I think, in the excess of 60 commissionership positions that need to be open to the people to be part of those commissionership positions to understand how it impacts their community. So there's boards in the city that I want to promote and get people engaged so they could be part of it. And then there's other elected officials that there's other elections that happen 2 year, every 4 year, that we need to open it up to the people. And we need to put a town committee that is of the people of our community, but not those that work for the city, because they're going to vote for those they want because they want to protect their job. Town committee should be about people of the community, so they could choose who they want to reflect. And in doing so, they're going to hold those that are elected officials accountable and responsible. And when they're not doing their job and their time's up, they vote them out. And that's the confidence we need to restore so they can understand the relationship they would have with me, but more importantly, the power that they would have within their votes.
Okay, so someone says or asks, what is the most favorite thing that you love about the city of Bridgeport?
I think diversity, because everywhere you go, you got different culture. I could go somewhere and dance some salsa, bachata. I could go over there and listen to some rock and roll. Not that there's different things that you could do in different sections of town. But I think the diversity is the key, because I could speak one language in one corner, another language in another corner. So the diversity is the key, and that's what keeps Bridgeport going. And not to mention the food. Today I had some pho soup in the Vietnamese restaurant over there in Iranistan Avenue. The next time I'll go to East Main and eat some mofongo or something. So there's that's what makes Bridgeport what it is, and that's what you gotta love, and that's what makes Bridgeport the centerpiece when you talk about a rainbow of people.
Okay, so a lot of people who I come across, and they start talking about the election, and they talk about the current mayor, and they also bring up John Gomes, and so the question that I usually get is, why should I vote for John Gomes?
Well, John Gomes is you. John Gomes is a reflection of the sacrifice that you've been to, whether you were born here or raised here. I was born in the hollow section of Bridgeport. I went to the public school system. I worked through the trenches. I went to corporate America, came back here, invested. I had my 4 children here. I'm walking the same street. I'm listening to that same music. I'm going to the same neighborhood, same barbershop. But this John Gomes also understands what's inside city government, that he could make the difference and make the changes necessary to make that reflect Bridgeport. And you have given the opportunity to this administration and other administration to be here, but you haven't seen the change. And I know I could bring the change because I have the ability, the professionalism, the experience, and I'm from the community. And you give me the opportunity. What you're giving me is an opportunity to build that trust. And together we could reach that ultimate goal when we talk about overall growth for Bridgeport. And that's what I say, give John Gomes that opportunity.
Okay, next question is, why do you think local and state leaders who are in power have not spoke out against the recent ballot fraud committed here in the city of Bridgeport?
That's a good question. I've reached out to everyone that I could have possibly reached out to. We've sent letters even before the fraud was uncovered to ask for support. And then when we discovered it, we found that actually the Republicans are being more supportive than the Democrats. We have not heard anything from our elected official to really take strong action against what has happened. We still have those that committed the crime earning money from our taxpayer base because they're getting a check while they're on administrative leave. We have certain elected people in office, one because of the fraud that happened. So it's a question that I would put out there more for the people to reach out to the governor, the attorney general, the secretary of the state, and when are we going to react? Because the evidence is overwhelming.
Okay, so I think we are coming to a close. We reached our time period. So before we leave, is there anything that you would like to say to the people of Bridgeport?
I would ask him for that opportunity. As I said, we are in one of the most important election in our history. We would never thought that in January 2024 we would be campaigning. I have won the primary and the general election on the machine by a combined vote of 834 votes. And we continue to lose on the absentee ballot. We've now put new measure based on a 7-page verdict that was given by William Clark. And with that, the evidence was overwhelming. I would tell the people that when you look at your kids today, when you look at your bank account, you look at your tax bill, you look at your personal tax that you have to pay, look at outside, look at the crime, are we doing better? And this is an administration who has been for over 20 years. So why keep them? You have an individual who, grassroots, grew up here, went to school here, endured the hardship when we talk about Bridgeport, came back to Bridgeport, has the knowledge from a small business owner to corporate, also has intimate knowledge of city government, who was in there trying to make the changes, but they got rid of him because he spoke and he didn't compromise. But if you give him an opportunity, I will have the ultimate decision, and that will be a decision that will reflect it for all of us. And I humbly ask for that opportunity. And if I fail you, get rid of me in 4 years. That's the power you have. But do not, we have to change. Do not stay with what you have, because we have a budget that has continued to grow on our back, 10 million, over $7 to $8 million a year for the last 7 years. It has grown over 80-something million dollars. We're getting less and less. Our kids are getting less and less in schools. Our crime is high, I would say, because when you look at the overall statistic, we're down 138 officers. Our streets remain dirty. Our neighborhoods remain blighted. We have a drug epidemic, as you said, across. And we have an administration that are making $114,000 to $154,000 of your taxpayers. And at 5 o'clock, they get on the highway, they go home. And I will not be that administration. So with an opportunity, we could restore the faith of democracy. We could restore the credibility of democracy, but we could bring hope to Bridgeport, not only from us as individuals, but hope in the sense that we'll create economic growth, we'll fund education, we'll make the city safer, and we will create a Bridgeport that's reflective of all of us. Because I've always said that I'm a mayor for all people, and that will that we have done throughout our campaign, within our pillars, our agenda, and I look forward to see him on the polls on January 23rd, and I ask him to please consider to vote row B, and you know, we need to do what we have to do, you know, with the, you know, with the seniors, the veterans, and so on and so forth. We need to come together. We need to come together for a better Bridgeport.
Okay, and for all those viewers out there who may need a ride to the poll or want to contact you or your campaign directly, how can they get in touch with you?
Well, they could always, we are located at 2196 East Main Street. That's our office. I don't have the number with me for our office, but we have on our website, you could go in and also put your information that we will provide ride, but we will be making calls and talk to all the voters. But we'll definitely give rides from 6 a.m. to 8 p.m. on the 23rd, and we are located right across from Dairy Queen on East Main.
Okay, John Gomes, I'd like to thank you for taking time out your busy schedule to come on this platform and do a live Q&A with the people. I hope we didn't put too much pressure on you. And hopefully this Q&A has been very insightful to who John Gomes is, his campaign, and the platform that he's running on to be the next mayor of the city of Bridgeport. What I do encourage everybody to exercise their right to vote. So get out there January 23rd and vote. It's really important. Thank you guys for tuning in, and you have a good night.
Thank you. God bless.
God bless. Here we go. Here we go.